Have you ever trusted a family member so much that you shared your most precious plans with them, only to discover they were secretly plotting to steal your dream wedding for their own social media fame? What would you do if your own aunt tried to hijack your special day? I never thought my own family would try to destroy the most important day of my life, but here we are. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how my Aunt Miranda nearly ruined my wedding for social media clout and a reality TV deal. Let me paint you a picture of what should have been the happiest 18 months of my life. Jake proposed to me on a Tuesday evening in our tiny apartment, no fancy flash mob or professional photographer in sight, just him on one knee with his grandmother's ring and tears in both our eyes. We had been together for 4 years, and I knew this man was my forever person. The proposal was perfect because it was us, authentic and private and real. The venue search began immediately because I had dreamed of this day since I was 7 years old. My grandmother used to take me to Beacon Point Lighthouse every summer when I visited her in Maine. We would climb the spiral stairs to the top, and she would tell me stories about the lighthouse keeper's daughter who got married right there on the cliffs in 1923. Grandma Rose passed away when I was 22, but I promised myself that someday I would get married at that lighthouse, looking out over the same ocean she loved so much. Booking Beacon Point Lighthouse was like winning the lottery. They only host 12 weddings per year, and the waiting list is usually 3 years long. But someone had a last-minute cancellation, and suddenly there was an opening for June 15, 2024. I called within minutes of getting the email notification, my hands shaking as I gave them my credit card information for the $5,000 deposit. Jake and I celebrated with takeout Chinese food and started planning our intimate celebration for 150 guests. Here's where Aunt Miranda enters the picture. My dad's younger sister has always been what you might call extra. She started her lifestyle blog in 2015 when influencer culture was just taking off, and somehow managed to build a following of 850,000 people by posting perfectly curated content about her supposedly glamorous life in Los Angeles. Her Instagram feed was a constant stream of sponsored smoothie bowls, designer handbags she claimed to have bought herself, and motivational quotes over sunset photos. But lately, things had been rocky for Miranda's brand. Several major companies dropped their sponsorship deals with her after some controversial posts, and her engagement rates were plummeting. She was 34 years old, single, and desperately trying to stay relevant in a space that was getting more competitive every day. Family gatherings had become uncomfortable because she would film everything for content, turning our private moments into her public brand. The red flag started small. When I posted photos of our venue tour in our family group chat, Miranda immediately commented with heart eyes emojis and asked a million questions about the location, the pricing, the availability. I thought she was just being supportive, maybe even a little jealous in a harmless way. She had been dating some guy named Tyler for a few months, nothing serious as far as we knew, so I figured she was just dreaming about her own future wedding. Then came the engagement shoot photos I shared with the family. Jake and I had hired a local photographer for a simple session at the lighthouse, wanting to capture some memories at our venue before the big day. The photos were gorgeous, with the lighthouse in the background and the main coastline stretching out behind us. I was so proud of them that I shared several shots in our family WhatsApp group, thinking everyone would enjoy seeing how beautiful our venue was. Miranda's response was immediate and intense. She wanted to know everything about our photographer, our timeline, our specific locations within the lighthouse property. She asked if she could use some of the photos for inspiration for her own content, which seemed weird since she wasn't even engaged, but I said sure, thinking she just meant the general aesthetic. Family is family, right? The first major warning sign came in February, 4 months before our wedding. I was scrolling through Instagram during my lunch break when I saw something that made my stomach drop. Miranda had posted a series of photos that looked suspiciously like location scouting shots, and they were all of lighthouse venues along the East Coast. The caption read something about finding the perfect place for life's most important moments, with hashtags about wedding planning and following your dreams. I called her immediately, my heart pounding as the phone rang. Miranda, hey, I saw your Instagram post about lighthouses. Are you and Tyler thinking about getting engaged soon? She laughed in that slightly manic way she had when she was being evasive. Oh, Emma, you know me, I'm always planning ahead. A girl has to dream, right? Besides, Tyler and I are so in love, I can practically see our future together. Something about her tone felt off, but I tried to shake the uneasy feeling. Maybe I was being paranoid because wedding stress was getting to me. Planning a wedding, even a small one, is incredibly overwhelming, and every vendor wants deposits and decisions months in advance. March brought our biggest expense yet, the catering deposit of $7,000. Jake and I had saved for 2 years to afford this wedding, and watching our bank account shrink was terrifying and exciting at the same time. We were really doing this. We were actually going to get married at my dream venue in just 3 months. That's when Miranda called with her big announcement. "Emma, I have the most amazing news," she practically screamed into the phone. "Tyler proposed last night. We're engaged." I was genuinely happy for her, despite my complicated feelings about their relationship. "Miranda, that's wonderful. Congratulations. How did he propose?" "It was so romantic. He did it at this little restaurant in Malibu, and I got the whole thing on my Instagram story. The ring is gorgeous, 3 carats, princess cut. We're already thinking about venues because we want to have the wedding soon, maybe this summer." This summer? My brain immediately went to the worst-case scenario, but I tried to stay positive. There were hundreds of venues in California, thousands of summer dates available. Just because she was planning a summer wedding didn't mean anything. "That's exciting," I managed. "Do you have any venues in mind?" "Actually, yes. We fell in love with this lighthouse venue in Maine. Tyler has family on the East Coast, and we thought it would be perfect for the kind of intimate, authentic celebration we want." The phone slipped in my hand, and I nearly dropped it. "Miranda, what lighthouse venue in Maine?" "Oh, you probably don't know it. It's this little place called Beacon Point. We're hoping to book it for June." The world stopped spinning. June. Beacon Point. My venue. My date. "Miranda," I said carefully, trying to keep my voice steady, "Jake and I are getting married at Beacon Point Lighthouse on June 15th. Silence on the other end of the line. "Oh my gosh, Emma, what a crazy coincidence. Small world, right? Well, I'm sure there are other dates available. Tyler and I were hoping for the 15th specifically because it has special meaning for us." I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. Special meaning. "Miranda, you got engaged 3 days ago. How does June 15th have special meaning?" "It's complicated, family history stuff. Anyway, I should go. I have a call with the venue coordinator in an hour." She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my kitchen, staring at the phone, trying to process what had just happened. My aunt, who had gotten engaged 72 hours earlier, was trying to book my wedding venue on my wedding date and acting like it was some kind of cosmic coincidence. Jake came home from work to find me crying at the kitchen table surrounded by our wedding planning binders and vendor contracts. "Emma, what's wrong? Did something happen with the florist?" I told him everything and watched his expression shift from confusion to disbelief to pure anger. "She can't do that," he said firmly. "We have a contract. We put down deposits 18 months ago. She can't just swoop in and take our venue." "But what if she somehow convinced them that she booked first? What if she's lying to them about her timeline? Miranda can be very persuasive, and she has this whole online following that might make the venue think she's more important than we are." Jake pulled out his laptop and started typing furiously. "Let's call the venue right now and confirm our booking. We have email confirmations, credit card statements, everything. There's no way they can just give our date to someone else." The venue coordinator, a lovely woman named Sarah, answered on the second ring and immediately put our fears to rest. "Emma, of course your booking is secure. You've been on our calendar for over a year. We did get a call from a Miranda Collins asking about June 15th, but I explained that the date was already reserved. She seemed quite upset and asked if the previous booking might be canceled, which was odd. Relief flooded through me, but it was mixed with a new kind of anger. Miranda hadn't just stumbled onto our venue by coincidence. She had specifically called asking for our exact date, knowing full well that we were already booked. "Did she ask for any other dates in June?" I asked Sarah. "She did, but when I offered her several other weekends, she said she would think about it and call back. To be honest, she seemed more interested in your specific date than in booking any lighthouse wedding." After we hung up, Jake and I looked at each other with the same terrible realization. This wasn't about Miranda wanting a lighthouse wedding. This was about Miranda wanting our lighthouse wedding. The next few days were tense. Miranda posted constantly on social media about wedding planning, sharing photos of lighthouse venues and talking about following your heart and not letting anyone stand in the way of your dreams. The posts felt like veiled threats, and several family members started calling to ask if there was some kind of conflict between us. Then came the family group chat message that changed everything. "Hi everyone," Miranda wrote. "Tyler and I are so excited to share that we've booked the most incredible venue for our June wedding. Beacon Point Lighthouse in Maine. It's the same place Emma and Jake are planning to use, which is such a funny coincidence, but we were able to secure an earlier time slot on the same day, so we can actually have a joint celebration. Think of it like a double wedding, but more modern and Instagram-friendly. Emma and Jake can have their little ceremony in the morning, and Tyler and I will have our main event in the evening when the lighting is better for photos. It's going to be amazing." I stared at the message for a full minute before the rage kicked in. She was lying. I knew she was lying because Sarah had told us no other dates were available, but Miranda was telling our entire family that she had somehow booked the same venue on the same day. She was either delusional or running some kind of elaborate scam. My phone started buzzing with messages from family members who were confused about the logistics of this supposed double wedding. My mom called immediately, asking if Jake and I had agreed to share our wedding day. "Mom, this is insane," I said, pacing around our apartment. "Miranda does not have a booking at Beacon Point. I just confirmed with the venue coordinator that our date is secure and no one else is on the schedule for June 15th. She's making this up." "Emma, honey, why would Miranda lie about something like that?" "Maybe there was some miscommunication. Because she's desperate for content and attention. Her follower count has been dropping, she lost those big sponsorship deals, and now she's engaged to some guy she's known for 8 months. She wants our venue, our date, and our guest list for her social media." My mom was quiet for a moment. "Do you want me to call her and try to sort this out?" "No, I'll handle it myself." I called Miranda immediately, and this time I wasn't going to let her dodge my questions. "Emma, hi. I was hoping you'd call. Isn't this exciting about the double wedding idea?" "Miranda, stop. I called Beacon Point, and they confirmed that you do not have a booking for June 15th or any other date in June. Why are you telling the family that you're having a wedding at our venue?" Silence. Miranda. "Emma, look, I think there might have been some confusion with the venue staff. Tyler's family has connections in the hospitality industry, and we're working through some special arrangements. The point is, we can make this work for everyone. Your wedding can be part of something bigger and more memorable. Part of something bigger. Miranda, this is my wedding day. The most important day of my life. I'm not sharing it with you for your Instagram content." "Instagram content." Her voice turned sharp. "Emma, you clearly don't understand what I'm trying to do here. This could be incredible exposure for both of us. I have nearly 1 million followers, and there are production companies interested in filming the whole thing. We could turn this into something really special." Production companies. My heart started racing. What production companies, Miranda? I probably shouldn't say too much yet, but Tyler and I might be getting our own reality show. The producers are really excited about the lighthouse wedding concept, especially with the family drama element. It could be huge for everyone involved. Family drama element. Miranda, what family drama? Oh, you know, just the typical stuff. Competitive cousins, wedding planning stress, family tensions. Reality TV audiences love that kind of authentic family dynamics. I felt sick. She was planning to turn our family relationships and my wedding day into entertainment for strangers. Miranda, I need you to listen to me very carefully. You do not have a booking at Beacon Point Lighthouse. You are not having a wedding on June 15th. And if you keep telling people that you are, I'm going to have to take legal action. She laughed, but it sounded forced. Legal action. Emma, we're family. Don't you think you're being a little dramatic? Besides, I have documentation of my venue booking. If there's a conflict, maybe we should let the venue sort it out. What documentation? I'll send it to the family group chat so everyone can see that this is all legitimate." She hung up, and I immediately called Sarah at Beacon Point. "Sarah, this is Emma again. I'm sorry to bother you, but my aunt is claiming that she has a booking at your venue for June 15th, and she says she has documentation. Is there any possibility that there was a mistake or that someone else at your venue took a booking for that date? Emma, I handle all of our wedding bookings personally, and I can guarantee that no one else has June 15th reserved. We only host one wedding per day, and yours is the only event scheduled for that weekend. If your aunt has documentation claiming otherwise, it's not from us. Would it be possible for you to send me an email confirming our booking, just so I have something official to show my family?" "Of course. I'll send that over right now, and I'll include our cancellation policy just so you have all the information." The email arrived within minutes, clearly stating that Emma Morrison and Jake Chen had reserved Beacon Point Lighthouse for Saturday, June 15th, 2024, from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., with a signed contract dated October 3rd, 2022. I forwarded the email to our family group chat with a simple message: "Here's the official confirmation from Beacon Point Lighthouse. Jake and I have the only booking for June 15th. The chat went quiet for about an hour. Then Miranda posted a long message that made my blood boil. I'm really disappointed in Emma's response to what should be a joyful family celebration. Tyler and I are trying to include everyone in our special day, but it seems like some people are more concerned with being territorial than with family unity. I have my own documentation from the venue, but I don't think it's appropriate to air family business in a group chat. Anyone who wants to see proof of our booking can message me privately. I really hope we can work this out like adults." She was doubling down on the lie and making me look like the unreasonable one. My cousin Lisa messaged me privately, "Emma, I'm so confused. Can you call me?" I called Lisa and explained the whole situation from the beginning. "This is crazy," Lisa said. "Why would Miranda make up having a venue booking? That's not normal behavior, even for her. I think she's desperate. Her influencer career is struggling, and she sees my wedding as an opportunity to create content and drama. She mentioned reality TV producers being interested in filming a wedding, so I think she's trying to manufacture a situation that would be good for television. But she can't just lie about having a venue. People will find out. That's what I'm worried about. I think she's planning to show up on our wedding day and cause a scene, hoping that the drama will be good for our social media or this supposed TV show." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Emma, do you think she's been planning this for longer than we realized? All those questions about your venue, all those lighthouse photos on her Instagram. Maybe this isn't as spontaneous as it seems." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lisa's words and about all the weird little interactions I'd had with Miranda over the past year. The constant questions about our wedding plans. The requests for photos and vendor information. The sudden interest in lighthouse venues right after we booked ours. I started going through old screenshots and messages, looking for patterns. What I found made my stomach turn. In our family group chat, I had shared photos from our engagement shoot in November. The very next day, Miranda had posted an Instagram story about lighthouse aesthetics being her new obsession. When I shared pictures of our venue tour in December, she posted about dreaming of oceanside celebrations. Every single time I shared something about our wedding planning, she posted related content within 24 hours. But the most damning evidence was in her Instagram posts. I started looking at the dates and locations of her lighthouse photos, cross-referencing them with our shared conversations. She had visited at least 4 different lighthouse venues in the past 3 months, all of them within driving distance of Beacon Point. She was clearly scouting alternatives or gathering content that would support her story. Then I found something that changed everything. I was scrolling through Miranda's Instagram highlights, looking at her saved stories from the past year, when I noticed something odd about the photos in her wedding dreams highlight reel. Some of the photos looked familiar, but they weren't lighthouse venues. They were detailed shots, close-ups of flowers and decorations and table settings. I looked closer and realized with horror that they were my photos. Miranda had screenshotted images from our family group chat, cropped them to remove identifying details, and saved them to her Instagram highlights as inspiration for her own wedding planning. She had been stealing our wedding planning content for months, presenting our ideas and our vendor research to her followers as her own original concepts. I called Jake immediately, even though it was past midnight. "She's been stealing our photos," I said as soon as he answered. "All those wedding planning photos I shared with the family, Miranda has been saving them to her Instagram and presenting them as her own ideas." "Emma, slow down. What photos?" I walked him through what I'd found, sending him screenshots as I talked. "Jake, I think she's been planning to steal our entire wedding concept from the beginning. The venue, the aesthetic, maybe even our vendors. She's been documenting everything I shared with the family and using it to build her own wedding brand online. That's insane. Why would she do that? Because she's desperate, and because she thinks my wedding planning is better content than anything she could come up with herself. Think about it, I've been planning this for 18 months. I've done all the research, found the perfect vendors, created the perfect aesthetic. She's trying to copy-paste our entire celebration and present it as her own creative vision." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Emma, what if it's worse than that? What if she's not just trying to copy our wedding? What if she's actually trying to replace it?" The thought was terrifying, but it made a horrible kind of sense. Miranda wasn't trying to have her own lighthouse wedding. She was trying to have our lighthouse wedding, with our vendors, our timeline, our guest list, and our family in attendance. "We need to do something," I said. "If she shows up at Beacon Point on June 15th claiming that she has a booking, it's going to be chaos. Even if the venue staff knows she's lying, she could still ruin our entire day. What can we do? We can't control what she posts on social media, and we can't stop her from lying to the family." I was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then an idea started forming. "Jake, what if we could prove that she's been lying about everything? Not just the venue booking, but her entire timeline. If we could show the family concrete evidence that Miranda is running a scam, they would have to believe us." "What kind of evidence?" "Social media metadata. If she's been stealing our photos and reposting them as her own content, there should be digital fingerprints. Timestamps, location data, maybe even original file names. And if she's been lying about her relationship timeline or her engagement story, there might be inconsistencies in her posts that we can trace." Jake was getting excited now. "You're right. And if she's really trying to pitch this to reality TV producers, there might be a paper trail. Emails, contracts, treatment documents." "Exactly. We need to build a case that proves she's been planning this con for months." The next morning, I called in sick to work and spent the entire day building what I started calling my Miranda file. I went through every single one of her social media posts from the past year, screenshotting everything and organizing it by date. I cross-referenced her posts with our family group chat messages, looking for patterns of theft and lies. What I found was even worse than I'd imagined. Miranda hadn't just stolen our wedding planning photos. She had been systematically documenting every aspect of our celebration and presenting it to her followers as her own creative process. The color palette we chose in January appeared on her Instagram in February as her latest obsession. The specific types of flowers we selected showed up in her spring content as her favorite seasonal blooms. Even our menu choices, which I had shared excitement about in our family chat, appeared in her Instagram stories as her own foodie discoveries. But the most damning evidence was in the timestamps and location data. Miranda claimed to have gotten engaged to Tyler in March, but her Instagram posts about wedding planning and lighthouse venues dated back to December, right after I started sharing our venue tour photos. She had been planning to steal our wedding concept for 4 months before she was even engaged. Even worse, some of the engagement photos she posted were clearly staged after the fact. The metadata showed they were taken on different days, with different lighting conditions, and at different locations than she claimed. She had created an entire fake timeline to support her story about falling in love with lighthouse venues independently of our wedding planning. I also found inconsistencies in her relationship posts about Tyler. According to her Instagram, they had been dating since August and were madly in love from the beginning. But when I looked at her posts from last summer, there was no mention of Tyler until October, and the early posts about him were casual and non-committal. She had gone back and edited captions and deleted posts to make their relationship seem longer and more serious than it actually was. By 3 p.m., I had a 20-page document with screenshots, timestamps, and evidence of systematic fraud. Miranda wasn't just trying to copy our wedding. She was running an elaborate con game, lying to her followers, her family, and potentially to television producers about her entire relationship and wedding planning process. I called my mom first, because I knew she would want to give Miranda the benefit of the doubt. "Mom, I need you to look at something. I've put together evidence that shows Miranda has been lying about everything." I sent her the document and waited while she read through it. "Emma, this is really detailed, but I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to prove." "Mom, Miranda has been stealing our wedding planning content for months and presenting it as her own original ideas. She's been lying about her relationship timeline and her engagement story. And she doesn't actually have a booking at Beacon Point Lighthouse. She's running a scam." My mom was quiet for a long time. But why would she do all of this? What's the point? She mentioned reality TV producers being interested in her story. I think she's trying to create a fake narrative that will be compelling for television. The influencer who steals her niece's wedding, the family drama, the competition between cousins. She's turning our real life into her entertainment brand. Have you considered that maybe she's just confused or overwhelmed? Planning a wedding is stressful, and maybe she's not thinking clearly. I loved my mom, but her refusal to see Miranda's behavior as intentionally malicious was frustrating. "Mom, this isn't confusion. This is calculated fraud. She has been systematically stealing our content and lying about her timeline for months. And now she's trying to convince the family that she has a legitimate booking at our venue so she can either force us to share our wedding day or create drama that she can film for her supposed TV show." After I hung up with my mom, I called Lisa, who had a very different reaction. "Emma, this is insane. She's been catfishing the entire family about her relationship and her wedding planning. How did you find all of this?" I spent the day going through her social media posts and cross-referencing everything with our family chat messages. The evidence is overwhelming. She's been running this scam since December. What are you going to do with this information? I'm going to send it to the family group chat and let everyone see for themselves what Miranda has been doing. And then I'm going to make sure that Beacon Point Lighthouse has extra security on our wedding day in case she tries to show up and cause a scene. Emma, be careful. If Miranda really is trying to get a reality TV show, exposing her publicly might be exactly what she wants. Drama and conflict could be good for her brand. Lisa had a point, but I was past caring about Miranda's brand. I was focused on protecting my wedding day and my family from her manipulation. That evening, Jake and I crafted a message for the family group chat. We wanted to be factual and calm, presenting the evidence without attacking Miranda personally. "Hi, everyone. Over the past few days, there's been some confusion about wedding venues and dates. Jake and I want to share some information that might help clarify the situation. We've put together a timeline that shows our wedding planning process and some concerning inconsistencies and other information that's been shared. We love our family and want everyone to have accurate information about our June 15th celebration at Beacon Point Lighthouse." I attached the document with all the evidence I'd gathered, organized clearly with timestamps and screenshots. The response was immediate and intense. My phone started buzzing with private messages from family members who were shocked by what the evidence revealed. My dad called within minutes, furious. "Emma, I can't believe Miranda would do something like this. This is fraud, plain and simple. She's been lying to everyone, including her own followers. Dad, I think she's desperate. Her influencer career is failing, and she sees our wedding as an opportunity to create content and drama. She mentioned TV producers being interested in her story, so I think she's been manufacturing this whole situation for entertainment value. This is not entertainment. This is your wedding day, and she has no right to try to hijack it for her social media nonsense." Within an hour, several family members had messaged to say they were disgusted by Miranda's behavior and fully supported our decision to expose her lies. But Miranda herself didn't respond to the group chat at all. Instead, she called me directly, and she was furious. "Emma, what you just did is unforgivable. You've humiliated me in front of our entire family based on your own jealousy and paranoia. Miranda, everything in that document is factual. Screenshots, timestamps, evidence. You've been stealing our wedding planning content and lying about your timeline for months. I have not been stealing anything. Wedding planning inspiration comes from everywhere, and just because we have similar taste doesn't mean I'm copying you. Miranda, you screenshotted photos from our family chat and reposted them on your Instagram as your own content. That's not inspiration, that's theft. And the venue booking situation is a misunderstanding that could have been resolved privately. Instead, you decided to destroy my reputation and my relationship with our family. What venue booking, Miranda? You don't have a booking at Beacon Point Lighthouse. The venue coordinator confirmed that ours is the only reservation for June 15th. Silence on the other end of the line. Miranda. Emma, you don't understand what you've done. There are people involved in this situation who are much more important than family drama. Business relationships that could be ruined because of your jealousy. What business relationships? I can't discuss details, but let's just say that your little investigation could have consequences that go way beyond hurt feelings. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, trying to process what she had just said. Business relationships. Consequences. It sounded like threats, but I wasn't sure what she could actually do to hurt us. Jake and I spent the evening calling vendors to make sure all of our contracts were secure. Our photographer, florist, caterer, and musicians all confirmed that everything was on schedule for June 15th. I also called Sarah at Beacon Point one more time to give her a heads up about the family drama and ask about security options. Emma, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this situation. We've had family conflicts over venues before, but never anything quite like this. I want you to know that your booking is completely secure, and we'll have extra staff on site that day to make sure everything goes smoothly. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm hoping Miranda will just drop this whole thing now that the family knows she was lying, but I want to be prepared in case she tries to cause problems. We'll be prepared too. And Emma, for what it's worth, your wedding is going to be beautiful. Don't let anyone else's drama overshadow your special day. The next few days were tense. Miranda posted a long statement on Instagram about family jealousy and wedding planning stress, presenting herself as the victim of misunderstandings and competitive relatives. She didn't directly address any of the evidence I had shared with the family, but she hinted at legal action against people who had damaged her reputation. Several family members reached out to Jake and me privately to express their support and disgust with Miranda's behavior. My cousin Tom even offered to hire security for our wedding day, just in case Miranda tried to show up and cause a scene. But the most interesting development came from an unexpected source. Lisa called me on Thursday evening with news that changed everything. Emma, you're not going to believe this. I have a friend who works at a production company in LA, and I asked her if she heard anything about a reality show featuring a lifestyle influencer named Miranda Collins. What did she find out? Miranda did pitch a show to several networks and production companies. But Emma, the pitch wasn't about her own wedding. It was about stealing someone else's wedding. My heart stopped. What do you mean? According to my friend, Miranda's pitch was called something like The Wedding Thief or The Influencer's Wedding Heist. The concept was that she would document herself taking over her niece's wedding planning, claiming the venue and vendors, and turning the family drama into entertainment. She was literally pitching a show about stealing your wedding day. I felt like I was going to be sick. She was planning this from the beginning. Everything she's done for the past 6 months has been building up to this. It gets worse. My friend said the pitch included photos and details from your actual wedding planning. Venue photos, vendor information, even family photos from your engagement shoot. She was presenting your entire wedding concept as her own creative vision and claiming she was going to execute it better than the original bride. Did any networks or production companies buy the pitch? That's the good news. Everyone passed on it because it was ethically questionable and potentially illegal. Reality TV producers might love drama, but they don't want to be involved in actual fraud or theft. Plus, Miranda's credibility in the industry is pretty low right now because of her recent sponsorship problems. I was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Lisa, this means Miranda has been running a con for months, not just on our family, but on television executives. She's been trying to sell our wedding as her own creative property. Exactly. And Emma, there's one more thing. My friend said Miranda mentioned in her pitch meetings that the family drama was already happening naturally, but she was planning to escalate it by actually booking the same venue and forcing a confrontation. She was going to manufacture conflict for the cameras. So she never intended to actually get married at Beacon Point. She just wanted to create enough chaos to make good television. Right. The whole thing was a setup for her supposed reality show. After I hung up with Lisa, I immediately called Jake and filled him in on what we'd learned. "This is criminal," he said. "She's been committing fraud, not just against us, but against production companies and potentially against her own followers. We need to document all of this." I agreed, but I also realized we now had the leverage we needed to end this situation permanently. I called Miranda that evening, and this time I was in complete control of the conversation. "Miranda, we need to talk. Emma, I really don't have time for more drama. I'm dealing with a lot of business issues right now because of the problems you caused. I know about the reality show pitch, Miranda. I know you've been trying to sell our wedding planning to television producers as your own creative concept." Silence. "I know you pitched a show called The Wedding Thief about stealing my venue and vendors and turning our family conflict into entertainment. I know you included our actual photos and planning details in your pitch materials. And I know that every network and production company passed on your idea because it was ethically questionable and potentially fraudulent." More silence. "Miranda, are you there? How did you find out about that?" "It doesn't matter how I found out. What matters is that I have evidence of everything you've been doing for the past 6 months. The stolen photos, the fake timeline, the fraudulent venue claims, and now the television pitch that proves you've been planning to steal our wedding from the beginning. Emma, you don't understand the entertainment industry. Reality TV is all about creating compelling narratives. By committing fraud, Miranda, you've been lying to production companies, to your followers, to our family, and probably to Tyler about your entire timeline and intentions. That's not creating compelling narratives, that's running a criminal con." She was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want, Emma?" "I want you to stop. Completely. No more posts about lighthouse weddings. No more claims about venue bookings. No more reality TV pitches using our wedding planning content. And I want you to post a public apology on your Instagram explaining that you will not be getting married on June 15th and that you're sorry for any confusion you caused. You want me to humiliate myself publicly for your satisfaction. I want you to tell the truth publicly because you've been lying for months. Miranda, if you don't agree to this, I'm going to contact every production company you pitched to and provide them with evidence that your entire proposal was based on stolen content and fraudulent claims. I'm also going to report your Instagram account for theft of copyrighted images, and I'm going to share everything I've learned with a wider audience so people know what you've been doing. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you a choice. You can clean up this mess yourself, or I can clean it up for you, and you won't like how I do it." Miranda was quiet for a very long time. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded different, smaller somehow. "Emma, I never meant for things to go this far. Everything just spiraled out of control." "What do you mean you never meant for things to go this far? You've been planning this for 6 months. You literally pitched a television show about stealing my wedding. I know how it looks, but it wasn't supposed to be malicious. When I first saw your venue photos, I was genuinely inspired. My career has been struggling, and I was desperate for content that would resonate with my audience. Wedding planning content performs really well, especially when it's authentic and emotional. So you decided to steal mine. Not steal, exactly. I thought maybe we could collaborate somehow, or maybe I could document my own planning process alongside yours. But then Tyler and I started having problems, and I realized that our relationship wasn't strong enough to build a whole wedding brand around. So you decided to fake an engagement and steal our entire celebration instead. Tyler and I are engaged, Emma. That part is real. But you're right that the timeline has been adjusted for content purposes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was still trying to justify her behavior, still trying to make it sound like creative license instead of fraud. Miranda, when did Tyler actually propose to you? Silence. Miranda. Last week. Last week. You mean after you had already called me claiming to be engaged and after you had already tried to book our venue? Yes. So when you called me in March saying Tyler had proposed, that was a complete lie. It was more like manifesting our future. I knew he was going to propose eventually, so I was just getting ahead of the timeline for content planning purposes. Content planning purposes. Miranda, that's called fraud. You lied to our entire family, to your followers, and to television producers about fundamental facts of your life. I know it sounds bad when you put it like that, but influencer culture is complicated. Everyone adjusts their timelines and narratives for maximum engagement. It's not really lying, it's more like storytelling. I was speechless. She genuinely seemed to believe that lying about major life events was just part of being an influencer, like it was a normal business practice instead of deception. Miranda, what was your actual plan here? Let's say one of those production companies had bought your pitch and wanted to film your wedding theft reality show. What were you going to do on June 15th when you showed up at Beacon Point without a booking? I was hoping that the venue would be flexible once they understood the situation. If there were cameras involved and a production budget, I thought maybe they would find a way to accommodate both weddings, or maybe they would prioritize the one with more commercial value. Commercial value. Emma, I love you, but you're not a public figure. Your wedding is beautiful and personal, but it's not going to generate revenue or media coverage. My wedding would have been an event that brought attention and business to the venue. I realized in that moment that Miranda lived in a completely different reality than the rest of us. In her mind, her follower count and her potential for generating social media buzz made her more important than family relationships or basic honesty. Miranda, do you understand that what you were planning to do would have ruined the most important day of my life? It wouldn't have ruined it, Emma. It would have made it bigger and more memorable. Think about all the content we could have created together. The family drama, the venue conflict, the resolution. It would have been incredible for both of our brands. I don't have a brand, Miranda. I have a life. I have a relationship with Jake that's real and private and not performed for strangers on the internet. I have a family that I love and trust, or at least I did until you started lying to everyone. She was quiet for a moment. Emma, I'm sorry that you can't see the opportunity one was trying to create for us. But I understand that you're not interested in collaboration. What do you want me to do to make this go away? I already told you. Public apology on Instagram. Admission that you don't have a venue booking for June 15th. And a promise that you'll stop using our wedding planning content for your own purposes. And if I do that, you won't contact the production companies or report my Instagram account. Miranda, I can't make any promises about what I'll do in the future if you continue to lie or steal content. But if you clean up this mess honestly and completely, I have no interest in causing more problems for you. Fine. I'll post something tomorrow. She hung up without saying goodbye. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages from friends and family members. Miranda had posted her apology at 3 a.m., and it was everything I could have hoped for in terms of honesty, but it was also somehow worse than I expected. The post was a long caption over a black background that read like a confession. I owe my family and my followers an apology for the confusion I've caused over the past few months regarding my wedding planning. I got caught up in the pressure to create engaging content and made some choices that I'm not proud of. My niece Emma has been planning her dream wedding at Beacon Point Lighthouse for over a year, and instead of supporting her, I became competitive and envious of her beautiful plans. I do not have a booking at Beacon Point Lighthouse for June or any other month. I was not engaged when I first started posting about wedding venues in December. I have used some of Emma's wedding planning photos and ideas in my own content without permission, and I deeply regret violating her trust and privacy. I was also in discussions with production companies about a reality show concept that would have involved interfering with Emma's wedding day, which was selfish and wrong. Emma and Jake deserve to have their celebration exactly as they planned it, surrounded by family who love and support them. I will not be getting married in June, and Tyler and I are taking time to focus on our relationship away from social media. I'm sorry for the lies, the drama, and the pain I've caused. Emma, I love you and I hope someday you can forgive me. The post had hundreds of comments within the first few hours, mostly from followers who were shocked and disappointed by her admission. Many people were asking for more details about the stolen content and the reality show pitch, but Miranda didn't respond to any of the comments. My phone was buzzing constantly with messages from family members and friends who had seen the post. Most people were supportive and relieved that the situation was finally resolved, but some were asking questions about the details Miranda had mentioned. My mom called around noon, sounding exhausted. "Emma, I read Miranda's post. I had no idea things had gotten this complicated. I'm so sorry that you had to deal with all of this stress during what should be the happiest time of your life." "Thanks, Mom. I'm just glad it's over. Now we can focus on actually getting married instead of defending our right to get married. Do you think Miranda is really going to leave you alone now, or is this just another manipulation?" It was a fair question. Miranda's apology was more complete and honest than I had expected, but it also revealed details about her reality show pitch that I hadn't asked her to share. Part of me wondered if she was still trying to generate drama and engagement, even in her confession. "I don't know, Mom. But if she tries to cause any more problems, we have documentation of everything she's admitted to. And Sarah at the venue is prepared for any issues on our wedding day." Over the next few days, Miranda's Instagram apology continued to generate attention and discussion. Several other influencers posted about the ethics of using family content without permission, and there were think pieces written about the pressure social media creators face to manufacture drama for engagement. Miranda's follower count dropped by over 100,000 in the first week after her apology, and several brands that had been considering working with her again publicly distanced themselves from her account. But the most satisfying development came from an unexpected source. Lisa called me the following Wednesday with an update from her friend in the entertainment industry. "Emma, you're going to love this. My friend heard through the grapevine that Miranda's confession post is being used as an example in production company meetings about what not to work with. Apparently, her public admission of fraud and theft has made her completely untouchable for any legitimate television or brand partnerships." "Good," I said, and I meant it. She burned her own bridges by trying to build a career on lies and manipulation. But there's more. Tyler broke up with her. Really? Yeah. Apparently, he had no idea about the reality show pitch or the extent of her lies about their relationship timeline. When he saw her confession post and realized she had been using their engagement as a prop for a social media scam, he ended things immediately. I felt a brief moment of sympathy for Miranda. Losing a relationship and a career in the same week had to be devastating, even if it was the result of her own choices. I almost feel bad for her, I told Lisa. "Don't," Lisa replied firmly. She chose to lie to everyone who trusted her, including Tyler. She chose to try to steal your wedding day for her own benefit. She chose to build a brand on manipulation and fraud. These are the natural consequences of those choices. Lisa was right, but I still felt conflicted about how everything had played out. I was relieved that the threat to our wedding day was over, but I was also sad about the damage to our family relationships and Miranda's self-destruction. The next few weeks passed quietly. Miranda stopped posting on Instagram entirely, and there were rumors that she had moved back to Ohio to stay with her parents. Tyler posted a brief statement on his own social media explaining that he and Miranda had broken up and asking for privacy during a difficult time. Our family group chat returned to normal topics like weekend plans and shared photos of nephews and nieces. No one mentioned Miranda or the wedding drama, and I was grateful for the return to normalcy. Jake and I threw ourselves into the final details of wedding planning. With the Miranda situation resolved, we could finally enjoy the excitement of our approaching celebration. We had our final tasting with the caterer, our last fitting appointments, and our rehearsal dinner plans confirmed. 3 weeks before our wedding day, Sarah from Beacon Point called with an update that made me laugh. "Emma, I wanted to let you know that we did get one more call from Miranda, asking if there had been any cancellations for June. When I told her that your wedding was still scheduled and confirmed, she asked if we had any availability for the same weekend next year." "What did you tell her?" "I told her that our calendar for next year isn't open yet, but I would be happy to put her on our contact list for when bookings become available." She said never mind and hung up. It seemed like Miranda was still trying to find a way to copy our wedding, even a year later. But at that point, her behavior felt more pathetic than threatening. The week of our wedding was perfect. Our out-of-town guests arrived safely. The weather forecast was sunny and 75 degrees, and all of our vendors confirmed that everything was ready for Saturday. Friday evening, we had our rehearsal dinner at a small restaurant overlooking the harbor. Jake's parents flew in from California, my college friends drove up from Boston, and everyone was excited and happy about the celebration ahead. At the end of the dinner, Jake's dad gave a toast that made me cry happy tears. Emma and Jake, watching you two plan this wedding has been a joy for all of us. You've created something beautiful together, not just this celebration, but your whole relationship. You faced challenges with grace and teamwork, and we know you're going to have a wonderful marriage. Tomorrow, you get to promise forever to each other at the place that means the most to Emma, surrounded by people who love you both. We couldn't be more proud or more excited. Saturday morning dawned clear and beautiful. I woke up in the bed and breakfast where my bridesmaids and I had spent the night, feeling calm and happy for the first time in months. We got ready slowly, taking time to enjoy the process and take photos of all the little details. My dress was perfect, my grandmother's pearl necklace looked beautiful with the neckline, and my hair and makeup turned out exactly as I had imagined. At 11:30, we loaded into cars and drove the short distance to Beacon Point Lighthouse. As we pulled into the parking area, I could see Jake and his groomsmen already there, greeting early arriving guests. Sarah met us at the entrance with a huge smile and a clipboard full of details. Emma, you look absolutely stunning. Everything is ready for you. The ceremony space is set up perfectly, the caterers are finishing their prep, and your photographer is already capturing some beautiful shots of the lighthouse and the ocean. Sarah, thank you so much for everything you've done to make this day perfect. I can't tell you how much it means to us. It's been my pleasure, Emma. And I want you to know, we haven't had any unexpected visitors or drama today. Just your beautiful celebration exactly as you planned it. At exactly 12:15, the ceremony began. My dad walked me down the aisle that led to the lighthouse, with the ocean stretching endlessly behind us. Jake was waiting at the end of the aisle in his navy suit, crying happy tears and grinning from ear to ear. The ceremony was everything we had dreamed of. Our officiant told the story of the lighthouse keeper's daughter from 1823, connecting our celebration to the history of the place my grandmother had loved. We exchanged vows we had written ourselves, promising to support each other's dreams and to build a life together based on honesty, trust, and shared adventures. When Jake kissed me after we were pronounced married, our guests cheered and the lighthouse bell rang across the harbor. I looked out at the faces of everyone we loved, all of them beaming with joy for us, and I felt completely, perfectly happy. The reception was magical. We danced as the sun set over the ocean, ate incredible food prepared by our amazing caterers, and celebrated with toasts and stories and laughter that echoed off the lighthouse walls. At 9:30, as we were cutting our cake, I noticed a familiar figure standing at the edge of the lighthouse property, just outside the gate. It was Miranda, holding her phone up like she was filming or taking photos. My heart skipped a beat, but before I could decide how to react, my cousin Tom walked over to where she was standing. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I saw him point toward the parking area, and after a few minutes, Miranda got in her car and drove away. Tom came back to the reception and found me at our sweetheart table. Emma, don't worry about it. She was just taking some photos from the road. I told her that this was a private event and asked her to respect your celebration. She left without any problems. What did she say? She said she just wanted to see how beautiful everything looked and that she was happy for you and Jake. She seemed sad more than anything else. I felt a mix of anger and pity. Even on our wedding day, Miranda couldn't resist trying to capture our celebration for her own purposes. But she also hadn't tried to disrupt the event or cause a scene, which was something. Jake squeezed my hand. Don't let her take up any space in your head today, Emma. This is our day, our celebration, our beginning. Whatever Miranda is dealing with is her responsibility to figure out. He was absolutely right. I pushed thoughts of Miranda out of my mind and focused on dancing with my new husband under the stars. The rest of the evening was perfect. We danced until the very last song, said goodbye to our guests with hugs and thanks for celebrating with us, and finally had a few quiet minutes alone at the lighthouse to soak in what we had just accomplished together. We did it, Jake said, pulling me close as we looked out over the moonlit ocean. We actually got married at your dream venue despite all the chaos Miranda tried to create. We did more than that, I replied. We proved that our relationship is strong enough to handle whatever challenges come our way. Miranda tried to steal our wedding, but she couldn't steal our love or our commitment to each other. 6 months later, Jake and I are blissfully married and living in our first house together. We framed some of our favorite photos from the lighthouse wedding and hung them in our living room, where they make us smile every day. Miranda eventually moved to Ohio and started working at her parents' accounting firm. She deleted her Instagram account entirely and hasn't posted any social media content since her confession in March. According to family updates, she's in therapy and trying to rebuild her life away from the pressure and toxicity of influencer culture. Tyler moved on quickly and is now engaged to someone he met through work. Their engagement photos showed up in my Instagram feed a few months ago, and they look genuinely happy together. The most satisfying update came from Lisa's friend in the entertainment industry. Apparently, Miranda's confession post has become legendary in Hollywood as an example of how not to pitch reality TV shows. Production companies now use her story in training sessions about due diligence and the importance of fact-checking influencer claims. Looking back on the whole experience, I'm grateful that Miranda's scheme fell apart before our wedding day. Her lies and manipulation could have caused much more damage if we hadn't discovered the truth and confronted her when we did. But I'm most grateful for what the experience taught me about my relationship with Jake and my own strength. When someone threatened the most important day of our lives, we worked together to protect what mattered to us. We gathered evidence, confronted lies with facts, and refused to let someone else's desperation and dishonesty determine our happiness. Our wedding day was exactly what we had dreamed of, not because everything went perfectly, but because we fought for it. We didn't let Miranda steal our joy, our venue, or our celebration. We stood up for ourselves, for our relationship, and for the truth. And in the end, that's what marriage is about. Building a life together that's strong enough to withstand whatever challenges the world throws at you, whether it's family drama, career stress, or influencers trying to steal your wedding for reality TV content. Miranda tried to turn our love story into her entertainment brand, but she failed because what Jake and I have is real, private, and not for sale. Our wedding was beautiful because it was ours, planned with love and celebrated with people who genuinely cared about our happiness. No one can steal that, no matter how many followers they have or how desperately they need content for their failing career. Some stories don't need to be performed for strangers on the internet. Some moments are meant to be lived, not filmed. And some celebrations are perfect exactly as they are, without anyone else trying to steal the spotlight. Our lighthouse wedding was one of those perfect celebrations, and 6 months later, I still wake up grateful that we fought for it and won.